Welcome to our webinar from Catch to Consumer, Introducing Green Accounting with Wisefish. My name is Kayla Thorbjornsen, and I'm a sustainability expert here at Wisefish. So sit back, relax, and let's dive right in. Here's the agenda for today's webinar. I will start off by going through some of the basic functionalities of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central's new sustainability feature, and then go into what Wisefish has added on with our green accounting feature. I will then demo and account for emissions from Catch to the consumer, and then finally I will show some environmental performance insights from Power BI. First, before we get started, I want to briefly go into why green accounting. When a business decides to partake in green accounting, they are demonstrating their commitment to reducing their emissions and at the same time contributing to a healthier planet. On the other hand, many businesses may be faced with regulatory compliance to account for sustainability. Mandatory legislations have been evolving around the world, requiring companies to take accountability on their environmental, social, and governance matters, such as with the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive here in Europe. Additionally, the green market is on the rise as many stakeholders are becoming more conscious of sustainability and the planet. Okay, let's take a look at Business Central's new sustainability feature. Business Central has released Wave 1 of their sustainability feature as part of the BC24 release. They developed this tool to support their customers' needs with regulatory frameworks for sustainability reporting. The first wave focuses on recording and reporting the three high-impact greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, but they will continue expanding in further releases, such as with adding water usage. However, I want to note that the user can use the CO2 field to represent CO2 equivalents, meaning it would encompass other gases relative to carbon dioxide. I'm going to start by giving a brief overview of how it is set up. The sustainability feature functions very similarly to the pre-existing chart of financial accounts, but instead of tracking financial cost, it tracks environmental data. There's a setup page, a sustainability chart of accounts, a journal, and a ledger entry. The sustainability setup page is where the user can define or enable specific parameters, such as the unit of measurement and decimal places. The setup is super flexible for specific user needs or reporting frameworks. The chart of sustainability accounts contains a compilation of sustainability account cards and maintains their relevant balances. I also like to refer to these as emission items. Within the account card, there is a category and a subcategory. You can filter and create reports on specific sustainability account cards or categories. The category contains details of the emission, such as the type of greenhouse gas and the scope. And for those who don't know what scopes are, they are used for categorizing emissions. So scope 1 are emissions that are directly burned by the reporting organization. So for example, fuel burned in a fishing company's vessel. Scope 2 is purchased electricity, heat, or steam, such as the production factory's electricity. And scope 3 is everything else upstream and downstream in an organization's value chain, such as purchased goods and services. An example of upstream scope 3 emissions could include purchased packaging, and an example of downstream scope 3 could include third-party transportation, purchase to ship out goods, or emissions associated with waste that an organization creates. The subcategory contains the emission factor for the account card, and the emission factor is essentially just like a multiplier to calculate emissions. Emissions and carbon credits can be directly entered into the sustainability journal. Reoccurring emissions can be set up here as well. Journals can be used as a draft since they are editable before posting, and the sustainability journal posts into the sustainability ledger entry. The sustainability ledger entry contains a history for all emissions and carbon credits, and it functions very similar to BC's general ledger entry. So now let's go into what Wisefish has added on with our green accounting functionality. Just to give a little recap, Business Central's sustainability feature's current focus is on recording and reporting emissions, but they will continue to expand in further releases, whereas the Wisefish green accounting solution was developed as an extension of Business Central's feature with regards to the seafood industry. It can be used as a tool to carbon footprint throughout the supply chain, so from when the fish is caught through its processing to when it is sent out. And this carbon footprint can then be reflected on invoices. And the green accounting feature requires little extra work for current users with just a few areas to be set up. Essentially, we want to support our customers on their sustainability journey because navigating the world of reporting can feel like a maze. The green accounting solution empowers carbon management throughout seafood supply chains. This means that emissions follow the trade item through various processes in our system, and it can be used as a tool for carbon footprinting per kilogram of seafood product. Data can then be taken from Business Central into Power BI, and Power BI can provide insights such as environmental performance metrics and KPIs. This is a helpful tool for sustainability reporting, such as with the EU's Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. We created environment bill of materials for fishing trips. It acts as a recipe card of emissions that can be assigned to fishing trips. The user can assign an environment bill of materials to a specific vessel so that it is automatically selected on the fishing trip. We added an area to attach a sustainability account card to any item, which will automatically connect into the production bill of materials. So for packaging, I can connect a sustainability account card here with the relevant emission factor for the packaging that'll be used in the production bill of materials. We added the sustainability feature to the production bill of materials so that it would align with our current functionality and how customers usually use our system for production. So once the user has set up the sustainability account on the item card, it'll automatically fill in on the production bill of materials. So this feature requires little extra work for production floor workers. We added a field so that the user can attach a sustainability account card to a vehicle. We created routes so that users can set up a trip with multiple legs. The user can attach a relevant vehicle for each leg of the trip so that the relevant emission factor for the mode of transport is reflected in the emissions. And once a route is set up, it can be reused, so it requires little effort from the logistics manager. Okay, now for the demo from Catch 2 Consumer. First, we'll take a look at how this demo has the sustainability chart of accounts set up. We created this template as an example for a seafood company that fishes and produces. Emissions are separated by scopes. So we have scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 upstream, and scope 3 downstream. There's also an area here to set up carbon credits. So here, for example, we have under fishing vessels a sustainability account card for marine fuel. Then we have the category here with scope 1 and the type of greenhouse gas. And here in the subcategory, we have the emission factor. And in the future, we plan on connecting with an API, so users would have the option to automatically fetch emission factors from recognized databases. And now we will start with fishing. I have one preset up here with raw material in the lines. So 10,000 kilograms of cod was caught. We added a green accounting header down here to input docking electricity and fuel use. But for users who have track well monitoring their oil consumption, there's also the option for this to be automatically imported through an API. So I select the EBOM for this trawler vessel. For this demo, I'll put 3,000 liters of oil and 100 kilowatt hours of docking electricity. And then I can just go ahead and land my fishing trip. Then I will go to landed fishing trips. I can check everything is right here. So 10,000 kilograms of cod, 3,000 liters of oil, 100 kilowatt hours of docking electricity. And I can go ahead and close my fishing trip. The emissions will then post into the sustainability ledger entry, and align posts for each emission type. So there is one line for the oil and another line for the electricity. Here are the emissions. Electricity is quite low since I'm using a renewable energy emission factor in this demo. And now we're ready to produce. I'm going to show you one of the production bill of materials that'll be used. For this demo, we'll just be calculating packaging emissions associated with production, but this essentially can work for other things you may want to calculate emissions for, such as electricity associated with machine hours. And the sustainability account card that contains the emission factor for this packaging is here. So now I'm ready to produce and I will go to a production lot. I have one set up here ending in 53. I'm going to consume the fish I just caught into this lot. I see my 10,000 kilograms of cod here. Go ahead and reserve this. And post. Then I can go to my output journal and I'm going to produce two different items. First, I'm going to have some cod small fillets. I'll set this in cooler 1 and I'll have 2,000 kilograms. Now for my second item, I'm going to have cod loins and I'll have 3,000 kilograms of loins. I can go ahead and post this. And now I'm ready to distribute and close my lot. Emissions post when the lot closes, meaning production is finished. Then I can go ahead and send some of my produced items out. But first, I'm going to show you the scheduled trip I have set up. So we have attached a route to this trip since it has multiple legs. The first leg is electric truck to the Keflavik airport, and the second leg is a flight to Barcelona. And there's also an info box here. It'll display total emissions from everything sent with this trip. Now I can go to my delivery agreement. I have this one ending in 4 set up here. And I reserved 2,000 kilograms of the small cod fillets that I just produced. And I can go ahead and connect the scheduled trip I just showed. And I can calculate trip emissions. Then the info box here shows the emissions associated with transport. And if I go to reports, I can see the total carbon footprint for this item. I also have the per kilogram carbon footprint. And this is useful for retailers looking to know the carbon footprint of the items I'm selling. And if I go to the sustainability ledger entry, I can see how the emissions are following the trade item through the different processes. So first is the fishing trip. Then the raw material is internally moved to the factory. Then the emissions from the fishing trip is inherited to the production lot. And then we have the packaging emissions, one for the loins and one for the small fillets. And then the emissions are further inherited based off the weight of the raw material input for what is produced. So the loin inherited more since it used more of the raw material. And here's the transport emissions. There's one line for each mode. So we have the electric truck, and then we have the air transport. So now I've actually finished accounting for emissions from catch to consumer. Let's dive into some examples of insights powered by Power BI. So here's a Power BI report that compares fuel and electricity usage for fishing vessels. The user can zone into the efficiency and monitor the performance of their vessels. So on the upper right image, I'm comparing electricity usage of my vessels. And on the bottom right image, I am comparing fuel use of my vessels per 1 ton of fish caught. This report provides insights on carbon footprint per fish species caught. Both diagrams on the right are comparing the carbon footprint per type of fish. Here we are looking for insights from transport and can compare carbon footprints based off different modes of transport. On the bottom right image, we can see that air transport has substantially higher carbon footprint than truck or ship. This report looks at total emissions from transport, the total goods transported, and their relevant carbon footprints. On the right, there is a map showing all locations where products are sent out. I can press the blue dots and see the amount of emissions per kilometer. And on the bottom left image, I can look at total mileage by vehicle. And these are just a few examples of insights Power BI can provide, but there is many other metrics users can look at or customize for their needs. We will soon be releasing our aquaculture solution, and it will have green accounting functionalities. The green accounting for aquaculture will work very similarly to the production process I just demoed. So there will be the use of lots and the production bill of materials, where the user can add emissions to the items used in farming, such as with medicine and feed. There will also be a bill of materials buffer journal to allow for the user to edit or add on before posting emissions. If you're interested in jumpstarting sustainability into your operations, contact us to become one of our first pilot customers. Pilot customers will have the opportunity to be actively involved in further development of green accounting, and we are certainly looking forward to hear your feedback. That's it for today. Thank you for coming.